Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Work very hard, like a slave. Someone who works as hard as a slave. A person who is owned by someone. Someone entirely dominated by some influence or person. A slave to fashion. Work very hard, like a slave. Work very hard, like a slave. Work very hard, like a slave. Someone who works as hard as a slave. Someone who works as hard as a slave. Be employed. Make uniform. Work the clay until it is soft. Perform as expected when applied. This old radio doesn't work anymore. Be employed. Is your husband working again? Applying the mind to learning and understanding a subject, especially by reading. Mastering a second language requires a lot of work. Have and exert influence or effect. The artist's work influenced the young painter. Make something, usually for a specific function. Cause to happen or to occur as a consequence. I cannot work a miracle. The occupation for which you are paid. A lot of people are out of work. Cause to work. He is working his servants hard. Find the solution to a problem or question, or understand the meaning of. This unpleasant situation isn't going to work itself out. A product produced or accomplished through the effort or activity or agency of a person or thing. It is not regarded as one of his more memorable works. Have an effect or outcome, often the one desired or expected. The voting process doesn't work as well as people thought. Use or manipulate to one's advantage. She knows how to work the system. Proceed along a path. Work one's way through the crowd. Prepare for crops. Shape, form, or improve a material. Work stone into tools. A place where work is done. He arrived at work early today. Cause to undergo fermentation. The vintner worked the wine in big oak vats. The total output of a writer or artist, or a substantial part of it. Picasso's work can be divided into periods. Give a workout to. My personal trainer works me hard. Go sour or spoil. The wine worked. Activity directed toward making or doing something. She checked several points needing further work. Arrive at a certain condition through repeated motion. The stitches of the hem worked loose after she wore the skirt many times. Behave in a certain way when handled. This dough does not work easily. Cause to operate or function. This pilot works the controls. Exert oneself by doing mental or physical work for a purpose or out of necessity. I will work hard to improve my grades. Gratify and charm, usually in order to influence. The political candidate worked the crowds. Move in an agitated manner. His fingers worked with tension. Move into or onto. Work the raisins into the dough. Operate in a certain place, area, or specialty. She works the nightclubs. Operate in or through. Physics. A manifestation of energy. The transfer of energy from one physical system to another expressed as the product of a force and the distance through which it moves a body in the direction of that force. Work equals force times distance. Proceed towards a goal or along a path or through an activity. Work your way through every problem or task. Provoke or excite. The rock musician worked the crowd of young girls into a frenzy. A member of the working class, not necessarily employed. Workers of the world, unite. A person who acts and gets things done. He's a miracle worker. A person who works at a specific occupation. He is a good worker. Sterile member of a colony of social insects that forages for food and cares for the larva. A human being. The immaterial part of a person. The actuating cause of an individual life. Deep feeling or emotion. A human being. A secular form of gospel that was a major black musical genre in the 1960s and 1970s. Soul was politically significant during the civil rights movement. The human embodiment of something. The soul of honor. Characteristic of or meant for a single person or thing. An individual serving. Being or characteristic of a single thing or person. Individual drops of rain. A human being. Separate and distinct from others of the same kind. Mark the individual pages. Concerning one person exclusively. We all have individual cars. A single organism. Causing or capable of causing death. Mortal combat. A human being. Involving loss of divine grace or spiritual death. Subject to death. Mortal beings. Unrelenting and deadly. Mortal enemy. A human being. There was too much for one person to do. A grammatical category used in the classification of pronouns, possessive determiners, and verb forms according to whether they indicate the speaker, the addressee, or a third party. Stop talking about yourself in the third person. A human body, usually including the clothing. A weapon was hidden on his person. A human being. Someone who signs a bond as surety for someone else. A female slave. A female bound to serve without wages. A female slave. A female bound to serve without wages. A person who is controlled by others and is used to perform unpleasant or dishonest tasks for someone else. A small figure of a person operated from above with strings by a puppeteer. A doll with a hollow head of a person or animal in a cloth body. Intended to fit over the hand and be manipulated with the fingers. Ride in a car with no particular goal and just for the pleasure of it. We tooled down the street. The means whereby some act is accomplished. Science has given us new tools to fight disease. A person who is controlled by others and is used to perform unpleasant or dishonest tasks for someone else. Obscene terms for penis. An implement used in the practice of a vocation. Drive. The convertible tooled down the street. furnish with tools. Work with a tool. A laborer who is obliged to do menial work. A slave condemned to row in a galley. A person who is controlled by others and is used to perform unpleasant or dishonest tasks for someone else. A human being. White is an archaic term. A living organism characterized by voluntary movement. A male slave. A male bound to serve without wages. Someone who signs a bond as surety for someone else. A male bound to serve without wages. A male slave. A female slave. A female bound to serve without wages. Someone bound to labor without wages. The United States freed slave and insurrectionist in South Carolina who was involved in planning an uprising of slaves and was hanged, 1767 to 1822. The United States freed slave and insurrectionist in South Carolina who was involved in planning an uprising of slaves and was hanged, 1767 to 1822. The United States slave who sued for liberty after living in a non-slave state caused the Supreme Court to declare the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional, 1795-1858. The United States general who was a hero of the War of 1812 and who defeated Santa Anna in the Mexican War, 1786-1866. The United States slave who sued for liberty after living in a non-slave state caused the Supreme Court to declare the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional, 1795-1858. British author of historical novels and ballads, 1771 to 1832. Award-winning United States film actor, 1928 to 1999. English explorer who reached the South Pole just a month after Amundsen. He and his party died on the return journey, 1868 to 1912. The United States slave and insurrectionist who in 1831 led a rebellion of slaves in Virginia. He was captured and executed, 1800 to 1831. The United States historian who stressed the role of the Western frontier in American history, 1861 to 1951. The United States endocrinologist, 1892 to 1970. English landscape painter whose treatment of light and color influenced the French Impressionists, 1775 to 1851. The United States slave and insurrectionist who in 1831 led a rebellion of slaves in Virginia. He was captured and executed, 1800 to 1831. Cooking utensil having a flat flexible part and a long handle, used for turning or serving food. A lathe operator. A tumbler who is a member of a turnverein. One of two persons who swing ropes for jumpers to skip over in the game of jump rope.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.